You can't explore Cole Abate's guard passing system without covering his duck under. For Cole, it's more than just a one-off position, it's a hub where he can hunt back takes, guard passes, and even submissions. But what makes it especially dangerous is how he can funnel into it from nearly anywhere, at nearly any moment, either capitalizing on his opponent's reactions or creating openings that barely seem to exist. Welcome everyone to episode 2 of The Art of Funneling, where we'll be switching gears from the X-guard of Andy Murasaki and into the duck under of Cole Abate. While these positions look completely different on the surface, they're connected by the same idea: how elite athletes funnel different situations into one central hub. The duck under is a technique with wrestling origins where one ducks under the arm to make their way around their opponent. When applied and adapted to guard passing within jiu-jitsu, the concept of the duck under is the same, only it's an under the legs entry with the initial goal of securing two things: an upper body connection to the opponent's far hip, along with a knee wedge by the near hip. Together, they stop the guard from immediately reforming, allowing Cole to treat the position as a home base, almost like headquarters. But before we touch on how Cole builds around that home base, a quick word from this video's sponsor. If you're serious about improving in jiu-jitsu, reflection matters. But without a clear way to track your training, it's hard to see what's actually working. That's where BJJ Notes comes in. It's the first training journal built specifically for jiu-jitsu, helping you log sessions, track techniques and injuries, and reflect on your progress over time. That makes it easier to spot patterns, fix weaknesses, and build on your strengths. It's free to get started, and right now their annual plan is available at a limited time promotional price. Check out BJJ Notes through the link in the description, use the referral code DEEPDIVE, and join over 20,000 grapplers from around the world already using it. To give a quick overview, once the duck under is entered, Cole can begin choosing how he wants to progress, and that all can depend on which of the three stances he initiates from, being low, where he's on his shoulder, medium, where he's based out on his elbow, and high, where he's in a combat stance. It's worth mentioning that although the classic duck under positioning is where the head is on the outside with a more perpendicular angle, across Cole's passing, those same core controls can also show up through positions such as the leg drag and the stack pass. Actually, my initial interest for diving into this study sparked from exploring Rafa Mendez's style of the duck under, where he commonly utilized the leg drag variation. So for this study, I'm using the duck under a little more broadly, not just as one specific entry, but as a system built around the same structural core. A major resource for the study was Cole's own Instructional, which I'll link below. I'll be building off one of its key ideas, that the duck under is usually entered through two broad categories. The first is reaction-based entries, where the lane opens because of a defensive reaction in response to Cole's movements. And the second is forced gap entries, where Cole opens the lane himself, typically by stacking to redirect the hips, or more immediately dealing with the framing leg, allowing him to enter even when the opponent is stable. Out of the two, Cole's reaction-based entries are what I find to be his most common method, and they're created when the opponent's defensive reactions, such as a leg pummel or inversion, briefly expose an opening that he can capitalize on. But the reason why these entry opportunities are so abundant goes deeper than Cole just needing to be on the attack. The other part is his style of passing. See, Cole is more of a far distance passer who uses a lot of movement and speed heavy threats like toreandos, leg drags, and throw-bys. And something that I heavily explored in my recent Guy Mendez guard passing study is the concept of the bigger the movement, the bigger the reaction. When applied to Cole's style of guard passing, the opponent often has to high leg pummel or more dramatically turn their hips to stay in front instead of just making small frame adjustments. To make things even more challenging for his opponents, Cole rarely challenges the guard in just one direction. He'll often threaten one side, then immediately challenge the other, forcing the guard into repeated retention movements until a gap starts to appear. And that's exactly what Cole is hunting. He's not just hellbent on trying to hit that initial pass, he's trying to trigger the kind of retention movement that briefly opens the lane as a disguise for his duck under. In this example, as Cole's opponent Giuliano Spera looks to close a distance to set up De La Riva guard, Cole swims an underhook beneath the knee shield and attempts to stack pass. Although the stack is defended, Cole quickly changes directions, flaring his knee outwards to windshield wiper over the De La Riva leg. In doing so, he manages to back out to the far distance as he continues to shuffle step to the side, where he capitalizes off of Spera's high leg pummel with a duck under. Spera shoots his leg over, successfully framing to free his knee line, and with that side now defended, Cole sprawls to create space and then windshield wipes around the guard and into the leg drag. Once again, Spera pummels in defense, leading to Cole swimming his head under for one last duck under entry. So as we can see, the duck under thrives when connected off of outside passing, but Cole can also blend it into medium distance passes too, like the knee cut, as long as he's still able to force the kind of retention movement that briefly opens the lane. In the same match, as Spera sits up, Cole shoots the underhook and dives for the knee cut. After shin flipping outside the guard, you can literally see Cole in expectation of the leg pummel defense, as he shifts his feet to make the proper perpendicular angle for the duck under. And that's the most crucial part of capitalizing off the reaction window. In fact, it's why Cole uses the crazy dog pass to initiate the majority of these sequences. It fits right into his game because he can engage and pass at a distance from outside the opponent's guard while already being in position to counter their retention response. Cole just has to travel and maintain control over the pin leg as he looks for far hip control along with the knee wedge to stabilize the position. This is where his ability to close the distance with leg work comes into play, like we see Cole do here, as he uses the sit through to make his way over the bottom leg. And in this next example, where he begins his duck under sequence with a toreando around the guard before briefly pinning the leg to shin slice across. Most commonly used when looking to travel over the leg, which I'm sure you've guessed by now, is the windshield wiper. Here with Cole's opponent fighting hard for the guard recovery, Cole transitions to the crazy dog grips, lines up the angle, and lets his legs do the rest of the work. So I've explained Cole's reaction based setups, but what happens when the opponent is more settled, squared up, and maybe even has their guard already established? In those moments, instead of waiting for a reaction window to reveal the lane, Cole has to build it directly and force the gap. Generally, he does that through two ways, either by moving the hips or by briefly moving the frames. In the first method, Cole's looking to get underneath the hips by stack passing, and once the hips are displaced, the duck under opens up. Here Cole pressures into the lasso guard before sneaking in the underhook. Looking to stack, he circles towards the underhook side, using the grips by the belt to elevate and shuck the hips away. He then has space to weave his head into the duck under. The second method is to more directly move the frame itself. Instead of forcing the hips away, Cole briefly deals with one or more frames, just long enough to slip himself underneath, using tools like the C-grip, where he can quickly redirect the limb in different directions, and the elbow pry, where he can wedge his elbow between himself and the limb of his opponent. Regardless of how he forces the gap, once he does clear the frame, another interesting difference starts to show up compared to reaction-based entries. Because these forced gapped entries often begin from a squared and neutral position, the wedge is usually more available right away, and so movements that close the distance, like the windshield wiper, aren't as necessary. Even with a system this dangerous, of course there are still times when the initial entry fails, and those moments are useful because they show us exactly what the funnel depends on. The first major failure is not having a clear enough lane to the far hip. If his opponent is able to better time or place the leg pummel, or if the frame stays in place long enough to block the head swim, Cole never gets the clean upper body path he needs to enter. The second major failure is around the wedge. Either Cole can't establish it cleanly, or he loses it once he gets underneath. And we see the danger of that here, as Cole dives for the duck under but loses the knee wedge, resulting in him almost getting caught in an omoplata. So that's it for episode 2. I hope you all enjoyed. If you'd like to dive deeper into Cole Abate's duck under, then head over to my Patreon where you can download a PDF containing the script, match links, timestamps, and notes. I'll also be posting a poll over there where you can vote on who you'd like to see featured in episode 3 of this series. Thanks for watching, and peace.